Hello and welcome to Express News with me, Deepika, your daily half-an-hour window that brings you all the latest news and updates from the country and the world in 30 minutes. Let's begin. The Union Cabinet approved subsidy worth 22,303 crore rupees on P&K fertilizers for the current Rabi season to ensure that the Indian farmers are not affected by the rising prices of fertilizers in the international market. In a press briefing after the cabinet meeting, Indian Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur announced that the Union Cabinet has approved nutrient-based subsidy rates for various nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potash and sulfur for the Rabi crop season. Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur also said that the availability of fertilizers to the farmers at subsidized, affordable and reasonable prices will be ensured. Indian Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur further said that the diammonium phosphate will continue to be sold at the old rate, while for muriate of potash, the rate will go down. India's President Draupadi Murmu graced and addressed an interfaith meet at Rashtrapati Bhavan today. Speaking on the occasion, Indian President said that religious beliefs and practices provide us with relief, hope and strength in adverse circumstances. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar has appealed to the best brains of the country to neutralize the false narrative which is against the rise of the country. Addressing the students at the Indian Institute of Delhi, Dhankar said that the growth of India is now unstoppable. Indian Science and Technology Minister Jitendra Singh held a mid-campaign progress review on Phase 3 of a cleanliness campaign at a meeting held in New Delhi. Indian Science and Technology Minister Jitendra Singh also said that in future an artificial intelligence-driven module can be introduced which can help segregate different types of waste. The Confederation of Indian Industry and the Federation of Saudi Chambers of Commerce signed an MOU to further enhance the commercial partnership between India and Saudi Arabia for mutual growth. India's Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal met his Saudi counterpart, Dr. Majid bin Abdullah Al Qasabi. Both the leaders talked about strengthening the strong trade ties between Saudi Arabia and India in order to strengthen the resilience of global supply chains. India's Union Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal also met Saudi Arabia's Minister of Industry and Mineral Resources, Bandar bin Ibrahim. The concert hall of the world-renowned Meenakshi Amman Temple in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu resonated with the sound of music as 108 women played the veena on the occasion of Vijayadashmi. A massive fire broke out at a chemical factory in the Aravali district of Gujarat in the early hours of Wednesday, local time. In a shocking incident, 10 fire tenders were rushed to the spot to douse the flames as more than 60 tankers filled with chemicals were gutted in the fire. Two Indian-American scientists, Ashok Gadgil and Subra Suresh, have been awarded the national medals in the field of science and technology by the US President Joseph R. Biden. International Kullu Dasera Festival commences with traditional Rath Yatra of Lord Raghunath at the historic Rath Maidan in Indian state of Himachal Pradesh. International Kullu Dasera Festival will continue for 7 days till the 30th of October. Delhi's air quality remained poor for the third consecutive day. The Air Quality Index or AQI in the Indian capital was recorded at 238, that falls in the poor category. Moving on to updates from business and economy, Indian benchmark indices ended lower for the fifth consecutive session. At close, the Sensex was down 522.82 points or 0.81%. Nifty was down 159.6 points or 0.83% at 19,122.2. Ahead of Diwali, gold prices are expected to edge higher in the immediate term. The price of the precious yellow metal has been rising in the past few weeks as conflict erupted in the Middle East. The price of silver fell by 500 rupees with 1 kilogram of the precious metal selling at 74,600 rupees. Oil benchmark Brent held above $88 as concerns about war escalating in the Middle East offset demand worries stemming from gloomy economic prospects in Europe. Indian rupee ended flat at 83.18 per dollar on Wednesday against Monday's close of 83.19. Google's parent company Alphabet's cloud business crawled to its lowest in at least 11 quarters, sending the company's stock down 5.7% after hours, even as sales at rival Microsoft cloud unit boomed. The drop in Google's share price, despite beating Wall Street estimates for profit and sales, shows how much the investors want the company to deliver gains in artificial intelligence. Dozens of US states are suing Meta Platforms and its Instagram unit, accusing them of fueling a youth mental health crisis by making their social media platforms addictive. 8 other US states and Washington, D.C. are filing similar lawsuits against Meta, bringing the total number of authorities taking action against the Menlo Park, California-based company to 42 now. United Nations Chief Antonio Guterres says clear violations of humanitarian law in Gaza, condemns both the use of civilians as human shields and bombing of southern Gaza after an evacuation order. In response, Israel said he was justifying terrorism. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations has called for the head of the United Nations to resign over his comments about the conflict in Gaza. Israel will amend its national budget to meet expenses arising from the war against the Hamas. Israel said the conflict is costing it $246 million directly on a daily basis. Iran criticized the US and the UN Security Council for blaming Tehran for the Israel-Hamas conflict. Iran accused the United States of escalating the conflict by aiding Israel at the expense of the Palestinians. Israel's military said its jet struck Syrian army infrastructure and mortar launches in what it described as a response to rocket launches from Syria towards Israel. The chief of Lebanon's Hezbollah met top leaders of Palestinian terror groups Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The meeting comes as Israel continues to station its tank at its border with Lebanon. Calling for peace in Gaza, hundreds of Jordanians gathered outside the Al-Qaluti Mosque in Amman to show support for the people of Gaza. The United States appealed for a humanitarian pause in the Israel-Hamas war to allow safe deliveries of aid to the civilians. US is also negotiating with Israel, neighboring Egypt and the United Nations to smooth emergency deliveries into Gaza. White House National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby said a ceasefire will benefit Hamas at this stage. Kirby described Israel's concerns as legitimate. China sacked its finance minister and science and technology minister along with its defense minister. China's defense minister, who's been absent from public, was also dismissed as state councillor. Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim joined thousands of pro-Palestinian supporters in Kuala Lumpur to condemn Israeli strikes in Gaza. French President Emmanuel Macron met Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi in Cairo. Both the leaders held talks and also discussed ways to pause the Israel-Hamas fighting and provide humanitarian aid. French President Emmanuel Macron also met Jordan's King Abdullah in Amman after a visit to Israel and the West Bank in an effort to prevent a regional escalation. Dozens of young Crimean conscripts left for the start of their active duty in the Russian army. A ceremony was held at an assembly point in the city of Simferopol in Crimea. Hungary's foreign minister said that the country's parliament will make a sovereign decision regarding the ratification of Sweden's NATO bid. The minister gave the statement after speaking with his Turkish counterpart. Donald Trump's former lawyer and fixer Michelle Cohen testified as a key witness in New York Attorney General Letitia James' civil fraud case against Trump. The U.S. Republicans selected Mike Johnson as their next Speaker nominee in a secret ballot vote. The Republican Tom Emmer dropped out of the race just hours. He was selected as the latest GOP nominee. One crew member died and 4 are missing after 2 freighters collided in the North Sea off the coast of Germany. The body has been recovered along with 2 surviving crew members. Indonesian Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto and his running mate Kipron Rakabuming, President Joko Widodo's son, officially submitted their candidacy for next year's presidential elections. China's Shenzhou 17 crew is set to conduct an extravehicular experimental maintenance of the Tiangong space station for the first time on Thursday. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese arrived at the White House for a lavish state visit and talked with President Joe Biden on China, Ukraine and the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Thai government is mulling over buying a frigate instead of a Chinese submarine. This comes as the Chinese manufacturer proposed to replace the German engines with Chinese-made equipment. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince attended the annual Future Investment Initiative held in Riyadh. The annual event is used by attendees as an opportunity to build relationships with some of Saudi Arabia's biggest companies. Thousands of women across Iceland, including the Prime Minister, went on strike as part of a campaign pushing for greater gender equality in the country. It marked the 7th time that women in Iceland have gone on strike. Cyclone Hamoon has intensified into a very severe cyclonic storm. The Indian Weather Department said the cyclone is likely to maintain its intensity before making a landfall on the Bangladeshi coast. Hurricane Otis is set to hit Mexico's coast as a Category 5 storm, making it an extremely dangerous one. The hurricane, which was already in Category 4, reached 233 kilometers per hour in maximum sustained wind speed. The hurricane conditions are expected within 12 to 24 hours for the stretch of coastline, causing flash flooding and mudslides, which would possibly be a life-threatening storm surge. A severe weather warning has been issued by Britain's Met Office as Storm Babet is due to make landfall in Scotland on Thursday evening. The red level warning is the first to be issued since February 2002. A Louisiana superfog led to a pileup of 158 cars just west of New Orleans that killed 7 people, injured at least 25, and left a string of crumbled vehicles on a bridge over Lake Muriatis. Bolivian firefighters and volunteers continue to battle the fires raging in a forest close to the Madidi National Park, a protected area that includes part of the Bolivian Amazon. Spanish music director adapts Antonio Vivaldi's The Four Seasons to the grim reality of global warming, adding prominence and drama to the summer concert. It will also be accompanied by projected images of wildfires and other effects of climate change, such as drought. South Korea, to contain the outbreak of lumpy skin disease in cattle, plans to launch a nationwide vaccination campaign. Authorities plan to complete the vaccination of cattle in the country by early next month, which fulfills the period needed to develop antibodies for immunization. Face of a girl sacrificed more than 500 years ago during the Inca Empire has been unveiled by scientists from Peru and Poland. The girl's mummified remains were found near a volcano in the Peruvian Andes nearly 3 decades ago, whose frozen body was discovered in 1995 at 6,400 meters above the sea level. Using 3-dimensional technology, experts reconstructed the face of the girl, believed to be between the age of 14 and 15. The 2023 Bridgestone World Solar Challenge is bringing together teams from across the world, with electric racing against each other across the Australian outback. The cars are expected to cover the course starting from the Australian city Darwin and finishing in Adelaide in about 50 hours. Small workshops owned by artisan families in Mexico City transform ordinary cardboard and paper to create traditional Day of the Dead decorations. It is believed within Day of the Dead festivities that if a spirit visits an altar, the decorated paper on it will move. Vietnam boasts jobs as people in rural and mountainous areas mainly rely on self-sufficiency for their livelihoods. Generating more quality jobs can increase income and achieve long-term poverty reduction goal. The endangered red wolf, the lone wolf species, is slowly coming back with a breeding and a reintroduction program that also takes special care of the wolf's teeth. The US-based Point Defiance Zoo is conducting dental exams and teeth cleaning in its managed care program. The preparations of Year of the Dragon is already underway as 2024 marks the Dragon Year according to Chinese zodiac. Traditional ceramics makers in southern Japan are working hard on plans to produce about 3,000 of the dragons. Vietnamese Culture Weeks marks 50 years of Vietnam-France relations, which are held in Versailles, France. The event attracts many participants across the globe. The Cultural Week featured a number of diverse activities, including exhibitions of traditional Vietnamese costumes and film screenings. Personal mobility and electric vehicles took center stage at the Japan Mobility Show as Japanese automakers, including Honda and Suzuki, displayed their visions of an electric future. US actor Richard Roundtree, famous for his starring role in Shaft, passed away at the age of 81. Roundtree shot to fame with the 1971 blaxploitation movie Shaft about a private detective, and he also reprised the role in a number of sequels and a short-lived network TV series as well. The Hunger Games is set to open at a London theatre next year in the first live stage adaptation of Suzanne Collins' novels and the hugely successful film franchise. It will be directed by Matthew Dempster, director and former associate director at Shakespeare's Globe Theatre. Time magazine's 100 honorees includes climate activists, advocates for health rights, actors and politicians. The list aims to bring attention to future leaders in health, climate, business, sports, arts and more. India-born novelist Salman Rushdie, known for combining narrative foresight with unfailing literary innovation, humor and wisdom, receives the prestigious Frankfurt Book Fair Peace Prize. In his speech, Rushdie urged that freedom of speech must be defended even in times when it is abused. Famous Indian actor Rajinikanth is over the moon to be working with his Hum co-star and mentor legendary Amitabh Bachchan and shares a picture with him. Both the actors are set to work in the upcoming project called Thalaivar 170 and last worked together in the year 1991 film called Hum. Moving on to sports, the National Games will be held in Goa from the 26th of October till the 9th of November this year. The National Games will be held across 5 cities of Goa. Goa will also host the National Games for the very first time. This will be the 37th edition of the National Games, and an estimated 10,000 athletes will take part across 43 sporting disciplines. Ace player Hardik Pandya is likely to miss India's next World Cup match against England, scheduled to take place on the 29th of October. Pandya has been recovering from an ankle injury sustained during India's match against Bangladesh. Indian athletes added more than 17 medals to their tally at the ongoing Asian Para Games in China. So far, India has clinched 55 medals, including 14 gold, 19 silver and 22 bronze medals. Manchester City will look to maintain their 100% winning record in Champions League Group G when they take on Swiss side Young Boys. Newcastle United will face German giants Borussia Dortmund at St. James Park on Wednesday evening. The first competitive meeting between the two clubs comes with the hosts sitting on 4 points. Sandro Tonali is still available for selection at Newcastle United for their Champions League game with Borussia Dortmund, despite the Italian midfielder's ongoing investigation for illegal betting. Barcelona is all set to face Shakhtar next. Coach Xavi Hernandez warned on Tuesday that Barcelona cannot use their injury crisis and their upcoming league game against Real Madrid as excuses for a poor performance in a midweek Champions League clash against Shakhtar. AC Milan will make the trip to the French capital to take on Paris Saint-Germain in the third game of their Champions League group stage campaign on Wednesday night. Ngannou is preparing for his boxing debut, taking on undefeated heavyweight world champion Tyson Fury in Saudi Arabia on Saturday. And with this, it's a wrap here on Express News for now, but news and updates will continue here on TD India. So don't go anywhere, keep watching and keep tracking TD India for all latest news and updates from the country and the world. Thank you so much for joining us right now.